That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Happy Labor Day to you. So, we have a lot to discuss today on this program. I'm not going to act like what happened last night didn't put me in a better mood. I'm not going to act like that. And we're going to get into it because it's a part of this story that I just can't ignore. So we're going to get into what happened last night. The Notre Dame stuff's obviously first and foremost on my mind. But I admit, for a guy who needed a little boost last night, I got it. I got the boost I needed to feel good last night, and we'll get into it. So thank you for being here. Congratulations to you if you don't have to work and you can tune into the program today. That is beautiful. YouTube, as always, hit subscribe. Many of you have, I'm sure. Give the video a thumbs up. Notifications on. You'll be alerted every time Brian Kelly does Brian Kelly things. No matter where he's at, you'll be alerted right away. Twitter, search bar Always Irish, or at Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishindy@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want me. You can get me. Call in line 312-900-8815. Here's the deal, folks. If you want to talk some of that ball, give Always Irish a call. 312-900-8815. Call up. Line is up. The number's up. The line is active. Give me a call. Let me know what you think. Okay? Let me know what you think. So 312-900-8815. Give it a call. Kent, I love you, Kent. Kent's an Ohio State guy. Kent's been up in the mentions all last week, giving me a hard time. Now he was here right when I opened up the stream. He was already chatting, letting me have it. Again, I'm in a position with the Ohio State crowd where I get that they feel the need to be braggadocious and all that, but I go back to what I've been saying all last week. If everybody in America had Ohio State winning, everybody in America had them being the better team, everybody knows they're further down the path to elite, everybody knows it's at home and they have an established quarterback, and then they win the game, congratulations, Ohio State. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You did. Ohio State did it, and it wasn't pretty, and it was an ugly game, and it was hard fought, but ultimately, I feel like Ohio State did what the program in Ohio State's position, as established as it is, should do. That's what I feel like happened. Ohio State did what they needed to do. It was very ugly. It wasn't beautiful. They're going to score a lot more points against everybody else than they did against us, but they did enough. They did enough. So I don't know what the Ohio State people want from me. I never once got on here and said you weren't good. I don't respect your talent. I don't think you're never. I was always respectful of the talent. And even in that dynamic, there was a path for Notre Dame to find a way to make a play late to win this game if they did certain things different. So congratulations to Ohio State. Really good team, whatever. I never said they weren't. So game one is in the books, and there's a lot to like, and there's a lot not to like. And maybe that's just how it goes when everything's new and you have a new coach. Maybe that's just how it goes. But there was lots to like, lots to not like. All right, there was. Now, before we get into the Notre Dame angle of this, I'm just going to hit this right now. Before we go down the Notre Dame Ohio State thing, I have to do this. The Brian Kelly and Polian performance last night was wonderful. It was absolutely a thing of beauty. I enjoyed it 100%. I was trolling Brian Kelly on Twitter and LSU all night during the game. And, listen, you guys, I get it. I know that's a trolly thing to do. And I also understand I got a lot of messages saying, who are you to be trolling Brian Kelly after you guys just lost your first game on the road, at Ohio State? Who are you in the position to mock what Brian Kelly's doing? Here's the deal. I understand that we lost and it puts me in a bad mood. So I'm going to do whatever I need to do to feel better. And seeing Brian Kelly and Polian be and do exactly what I knew they were going to be and do, it was the most beautiful end of the weekend. It was absolutely glorious. This is big game Brian Kelly, you guys. You could take the South Bend out of Brian Kelly, but it doesn't take the Brian Kelly out of Brian Kelly. It's amazing. It's like all those big scale Notre Dame complaints with Kelly about bad starts in big games and sloppiness and special teams never being good enough, all of that. And it followed him right down to LSU week 1. It's beautiful. And it's like, who could have ever seen these problems coming? I don't know. Who could have ever thought these issues would be heading down the road? I don't know. Every single Notre Dame fan who's dealt with these issues with Kelly and Polian forever. That's who. And we all tried to warn them, and they weren't interested. Not interested. I tried to warn them, and I did it in good faith. I wasn't even being a troll. I tried to warn those people, don't fall for the political speeches. I'm telling you, this is dangerous to buy in this way. Trust somebody who's been down this path. And they didn't. None of them would listen. None of them wanted to listen. Now they got the reality. You saw what you're going to get. It's Polian and Kelly, and they were talking after the game. It's so good to have these problems not be mine. It was glorious. So now the LSU people, they were making fun of Notre Dame going, 0-2, Marcus, that's a shame, Now the LSU people, full excuse making. It's already turned into, with the LSU media, I was up late last night listening to their post-game stuff. I can't get enough. It's already turned into excuse making for Brian Kelly. He doesn't have his guys. He flipped the roster. Look at all the new transfer portal guys in. What do you expect? All of that. It all happened week 1. Like, half the roster's new guys flipped over. What does that have to do with no fundamentals and no special teams and being bad all night? Like, you could still have your organization in order while you're flipping the talent. Didn't happen. That's a shame. All right, so enough about Brian Kelly. Let's get into our game. We went by the recipe the first half and did well. Second half, Reese threw the entire cookbook out the window. Here's what I've been saying, everybody. Jaded Clay, good start to the day. What I've been saying is, early in that game, Notre Dame followed the recipe, and they were able to move the ball a little bit on the ground in some of those drives. So early on, the problem is when it comes time to make adjustments off adjustments, Notre Dame is not able to do it. That's the issue. Our adjustments after the first half of the bowl game and this game, we're adjusting to being worse. That's the issue. Where's the pivot? Like, that's the concerning part to me, both in the bowl game and in this ball game. Once things started not working, there was no answer. There was no pivot. There was no obvious go-to, workaround, change in direction. That's a little concerning. And again, I'm sorry to have to go down this path again, but I'm left no choice. If you're telling me that Reese is this genius and this play calling savant and all of this high-end intellectual football intelligence that Reese has, that I am told he has by all these elite football people in that circle, if that's the case, he needs to be able to adjust and work with what he's working with. We certainly understand that wide receiver room is an issue. And we saw, I believe there was only 3 wide receivers targeted all night for about 8 passes. Mayer caught 5 balls, and those receivers caught 1 each. That's not big boy football. You're never going to win that way. I knew this was going to be a struggle. I didn't know it was going to be that big of a struggle. That's the issue. I'm serious. I knew it was going to be a struggle. It couldn't be this bad. It just couldn't. And the other thing is that we all realize, I know you guys do, and so do I. This is going to get easier. Like, we're only looking at our one body of work against the best team we're going to play all year. And so you do have to understand that. You do have to beat the team that's in front of you, and we didn't do it. But I also do understand that this is the best team we're going to play all year. So the offense and everything is going to look even better when you're playing not a top 2 team in the country. Obviously, we know that. What's good about that is it'll give the offense some breathing room the next 2 weeks against lesser opponents. Get your legs under you, establish something, get something going. Where I think this is very exciting for me is defensively. If they held in this tough against Ohio State, and I get it, the blitz on the third down, I get it. The blown coverage on the first touchdown, the guy was wide open. I get it. Those are frustrations. All of you guys, everybody in the chat, 100-something people listening, thanks for being here, by the way. Give the video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you're one of the 109 whatever people in here and you haven't subscribed yet. I appreciate it. Man, this is frustrating. Very frustrating. What I was saying is, what really excites me is defensively, this team did a really good job holding this explosive offense to 21. I suspect their lowest point total of the year. They're just going to get better, and they're going to be playing lesser competition the rest of the year offensively. Like, even Clemson's going to be very tough defensively. Offensively, you just played your toughest team, and you held in there pretty tough. So it's going to be good defensively. And the thing is, I never want us to take for granted that Notre Dame's really solid defensively year after year. I don't want to take that for granted. It's just the issue that Notre Dame's never going to accomplish their goals unless the offense steps up to do their part too. And that has just been an ongoing Notre Dame frustration that has been forever, at least in the Brian Kelly era. Even when we're really good, it's all defense. Even when we're really, really good, it's all defense. And when you face a team like Ohio State, you need the offense to do their part. And we weren't able to. Okay, let's look at a couple chats, and then we do have a couple callers. We're going to crank that up. Hope Freeman has a heart-to-heart with Reese. I am really struggling with this dynamic. I am. I'm struggling. I really don't want to be down on Reese. I know it's popular to just kind of crap on Tommy and all of that. I know that. It's just so frustrating, you guys. It's so frustrating to be told that I'm dumb and I don't understand football at an intellectual level enough, a philosophical level enough, a schematical level enough that I can't understand the genius behind Tommy Rees and what everybody sees, and that I'm the one who's just missing it. All I know is I don't see exciting Notre Dame offense. I don't. And that's a problem, and we're never getting over the hump without it. We're just not. Who do we have? First caller of the day, 336. Good morning to you, 336. You're on the air.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to be an early caller. I didn't know I'd be the first one. So I'm trying to keep, since Saturday, I'm trying to keep a level head here with everything. What I'll say is this: with the effort and the desire we saw from Notre Dame on Saturday against Ohio State, if they can do that every game, there's no reason they can't win 10 games this season and be in a major bowl game and hopefully win it this time.
Yeah, it's, you know what? I agree with you. Like, it was here's where I'm struggling with this. Tell me if you are too in your mind. There's these two tracks at the same time, looking at things bigger picture, like improvements throughout the year, and then big picture, what's Freeman trying to get going culturally, big picture, and then looking at this one game. It's all overlapping. It all connects and it all overlaps, the short term and the long term. Let me ask you this. Here's my biggest number one takeaway from that ball game. My biggest number one takeaway is I saw proof that Freeman knows how to get the guys ready appropriately in a fall camp, physically and mentally. And they came into that huge ball game ready to play, not intimidated, not scared, came ready to play. That's my number one big picture takeaway. And then we get into the smaller stuff with some of the complaints and the issues. But do you feel like you felt that vibe, that you could tell this feels a little different? Or am I just grasping for something positive?
Yeah, I mean, they came out of the gates, offensively. They started with the big play to Styles, and the 54-yard catch and the 15-yard roughing the passer. Like they that came out very nice, and then Golden came out. I mean, Golden came out phenomenal in the first. The whole first half was basically his show defensively. He was that was very impressive. We're gonna play. Not to excuse Tommy Rees here, we're gonna play less talent-laden athletic defenses throughout the course of the year, with the exception of Clemson.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree with you. Yep.
I feel like running up the scoreboard against UNLV and Marshall and North Carolina is like the least impressive thing you could possibly do. What I'm curious about is, so I didn't feel like Notre Dame did enough of a job of dedicating themselves to the run. Like they weren't really focused on that, or if they did, they went away from it quickly, which is kind of a feature of a Brian Kelly offense. And that scares me that Rees is doing the exact same things again. I was hoping that we would see differences between his offense and what he was doing under Kelly, and he's not. He didn't back me.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Here's the other thing that jumped out to me right away. I think we already expected the defense to be really good. I actually left this game more encouraged with the defense overall. I think the secondary is going to be better than I gave it credit for going into this season. And I don't blame myself for that. I blame Notre Dame for that, for putting it in my head for 30 years that I need to be worried about Notre Dame's secondary. So I don't blame myself for that. But offensively, I expected the offensive line to be more effective right away, even against Ohio State's talent. I know they're very good, but even against their talent, I thought they would be able to move them around more. That might be my biggest disappointment of the night. What about you?
Well, I am of the opinion that I don't think that Rees did a good job of setting up the offensive line. Partially, I think that it was a very pass-heavy offense. There weren't too many sacks on Notre Dame's end. There were a lot of hurries, I thought, but the lack of a running game, they didn't really try to establish that. Which, when people talked leading up to this game, the template with Michigan, that's what Michigan did to Ohio State last time, was let's focus on just pounding the run and make them stop it. Notre Dame didn't do that, which means we went against the model that works.
Yeah.
That worked against us before. And then I think there was a bit of a lack of trust from Tommy Rees in Buckner and the receivers. And I don't know. That's the one thing I can say with talking about giving Ohio State time to establish their defensive identity if they had more time between the start of the season and our game against them. The opposing view would have been that could have been time that Rees developed trust in Buckner as his quarterback, as a guy he knows can make those plays. Where I feel like he was kind of looking at Buckner just don't screw it up.
Yeah. Well, here's one question I have. Listen, we all know, and we all knew going in, wide receiver was going to be a problem. That is not a secret. Everybody, even just regular people, not even diehards, know that's an area of concern. That being said, I still expected them to take a couple shots Like, take the top off and throw a couple deep balls. Like, try and get more going, build some confidence. I just feel like a part of me feels like they didn't even try and do that and just kind of figured we know it's going to be bad. We're not even going to try and do that. And then I felt like Notre Dame was playing in a little box in the middle of the field because nothing outside mattered. And then that made it easier for Ohio State. That's what it felt like to me. Only 3 receivers getting targets. You can't win that way. You can't win a ball game like this doing that.
Well, the idea that you have 1 reception for Styles, 1 reception for Lindsey, 1 reception for Salerno randomly, and I mean, did Merriweather play? Did Colsey play? Did Jaden Thomas? Did he even get a target?
I don't know if any of those guys were out there, but I don't think any of them got targets. And that surprises me. Let Merriweather go out there, throw him a ball. What's the risk in that? It couldn't be worse than what you were doing, but that's just me. That's me.
Maybe, and this is just me theorizing. I think Reese went out there basically telling Buckner, we're not going to take any big chances. We're not going to risk you throwing an interception. We're just going to, have you make, try to make basic plays, not anything special. And that tells me that there is that there might be a lack of trust, because I feel like those opportunities existed. There were times where Ohio State left Styles or Lindsey in single coverage, one-on-one. Give your guy a chance to go make a play. Give your guy that chance. Say, we're going to put the ball out there, and Lindsey, go out and get it. The fact that your deepest throw down the field went to Salerno, because the Styles one was a catch and run.
Yeah.
It wasn't 50 yards downfield. It was the catch and run. He ran the ball for 50 yards. The deepest throw they threw in the game, I think, was to Salerno. Or was it to Lindsey? It may have been Lindsey's catch, the diving catch he had. But it's like, if that's the deepest you can do, and you're throwing it to the walk-on, like, what is this offense?
Yeah, and here's the other thing, though. Here's a big takeaway from, again, there's layers to all this. The analyzing the game, there's layers. Big picture, short picture, big picture, 10-year overall versus just this week, all of it. Here's a big picture takeaway I have with Buckner. Yeah, there are issues. That was a very tough spot to have your first start. The wide receiver room doesn't help your issues. The offensive line doesn't help him develop either at the moment. But the moment itself was not too big for Tyler Buckner. And that is a big deal. You needed to see that. Like, he did not cower in the moment, look scared, get all freaked out. He didn't. So the moment's not too big for Tyler Buckner. It's just a tough first game, to be able to unleash this. So what do you want to see next week? Like, what's going to make you feel better? You want to see him hang 50, 60 points on Marshall and Cal, work some of this offense out, and then you'll feel better and expect the defense to still be good? Is that what you would like? What do you want to see next?
I do not think that it matters what the offense does against Marshall, Cal, and UNC. I think we'll see if the offense has come along at all. We'll see it against BYU and against Clemson. And because hanging 50 on Marshall or UNC is not impressive. Florida A&M almost put 50 on UNC.
Well, but that's what we're working with, though. But that's what we're working with. So then the best you could do is do that and then call that, practice and call that improvement. Now, the issue is it's one thing to have a struggling offense against Ohio State at their place. Could you imagine if they go the first half and they're struggling this week at home? That's going to be a different level of panic. So you better figure it out and be able to run the ball this week, or it's going to get rough real fast. Don't you agree?
Yeah, that if they can't move the ball against Marshall and Cal and North Carolina, there's going to be questions to be had about what, about in my opinion, there would have to be questions about Reese's ability to be a coach.
I'm telling you, man, it's so frustrating to be told by all these experts that he's a genius, but then I look for the results at Notre Dame and I don't see an impressive offense ever. And it frustrates me till no end. I want him to succeed. He's a Notre Dame guy, a Notre Dame player. I want him to do well. But I need to see it. I need to see it.
Yeah.
Just not be told he's a genius. Just trust me, John. You don't see it on the field, but he's a genius. No, we want results. So if he's elite, at least let me see us building to that. It's frustrating.
You know what's kind of interesting is, like, I feel like when they put the two scoring drives Notre Dame had, the field goal and the touchdown drive they had, when they put the ball in Buckner's hands, it went well. Like when they let him let loose a little bit, I'm like, okay, this is looking like an offense now. And then for some reason they stopped that. They maybe Ohio State took it away, but I don't think that was entirely the case. I think that was maybe part of it, but it felt like they just were like, okay, that's working. Let's do something else now. Again, kind of my comment.
It's frustrating.
About the game against Georgia, where Cole Kmet was getting open all game, and they decided he's still getting open, but we're going to do something else instead. It's kind of that again. Like, you see it when on scoring drives. You see Buckner. He had the big pass, or he had it was a catch and run to Styles, and those passes to the pass to Salerno, and then the pass over the middle to Bauman, who was wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those things were like, you watch those and you're like, okay, that looks good. Let's keep doing more of this. And then it's just like, I don't know. Did Ohio State somehow adjust to take away every weapon we had?
Well, let me ask you this too. How do you account for the 76 yards rushing Notre Dame had? 2.6 yards per carry. 76 yards. Do you chalk that up to Notre Dame's line isn't good enough, especially up in the middle? I think outside they're a little stronger up the middle. Or do you chalk that up to Ohio State's really, really good? Or is it both? But I expected more. I thought Harry would have them in there looking more mean than they did, and that might be my number one most disappointing feature of the game.
So it's partially both. Zeke Corral is too small to be a center. Let's start there. Like he's too light. He gets pushed around too easily. Josh Lugg is. There's a reason he never established himself as a starter anywhere. Because he's not a starter. I think those are the two big complaints I have on the offensive line. Alt and Fisher. Fisher had a couple bad plays, but not as bad as Lugg and Corral, who were letting people up the middle all game long, it seemed like. And Kristofic did pretty well at left guard. So I feel like we had three solid positions on the offensive line. Ohio State's defense is going to do what they're going to do. They're fast and athletic and big. They're everything. They're everything you would want a defensive front seven to be. Which Notre Dame's was that too in the game. I thought they did really well. But yeah, I think when Patterson comes back, instead of putting him in at left guard and moving Kristofic out, I would much rather see him slot in at center and move Corral out.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's no doubt that weak in the line with Patterson out. There's no doubt. Everybody knows that. I still expected a little bit more than what I got. And maybe that's on me for thinking St. Harry would blow in town and everything would be perfect. I don't know. So let me ask this as we wrap up. What's the top thing you liked about this game? And what's the number one thing that gives you concern as we move into week 2?
Well, the top thing I liked was definitely, the defense as a whole. The front seven was very impressive. I thought they made it really hard for Ohio State to do much of anything. They put pressure. They didn't sack Stroud, but they made him hurry up his passing a little bit and made him a little less but you could see he had a little bit of he got a little bit of happy feet back there in the backfield a little bit sometimes, and that's because the defense was kind of pushing him and making him not as comfortable as he would like to have been. The defensive backs, we need to find a safety opposite. We always seem to have one, Kyle Hamilton, Brandon Joseph.
Yep, but you need more than one. You need clones of those guys.
Houston Griffith can't tackle. Xavier Watts doesn't try to tackle. And then, I think the best they have back there is maybe Ramon Henderson or one of the freshmen. But that's not, or maybe put Bracey back there, but I'm not sure about his tackling either.
Yeah.
And then the corners, I would almost feel better instead of throwing Clarence Lewis out there, and to some extent Cam Hart. I would almost feel better with let's throw the freshman back there, Morrison and
Morrison and Mickey.
Yeah, Jaden Mickey. Yeah, I'd almost feel comfortable throwing those guys out there, and I know you'll have some growing pains with these freshman corners, but you throw them out there, and maybe by year 2 or 3, you got some guys who are experienced and know what they're seeing and have that skill and kind of confidence about themselves to go out there and play the corner position at a high level.
Yep. And I do think, recruiting is upticked in that area too. So they're going to get better there. And so what do you expect? What do you expect next week against Marshall? Are we going to blow them out and get on the right track, get Freeman his first win at home and get the vibes going right here? Is it going to be a struggle? What do you think? Can we go in there stress-free and work on some things?
To me, it's all on Reed, because this defense can, if they play 70% of what they did against Ohio State, they can shut down Marshall.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's all on Reed.
Yeah, you would hope.
The other thing I'd like to say is we spent all off season, your show spent all off season, the fan base as a whole spent all off season talking about how we needed to, in order to beat these elite teams, we need to recruit at an elite level. And then we go into this game and we're like, all right, now go beat the elite team. And it's like, we didn't do the recruit at the elite level part yet.
Yep. Chicken or the egg scenario. It's very, your dynamic is right on. It's a very tough spot. I know right where you're going. It's like, you need those elite wins to breed elite recruiting, and you need the elite recruiting to get the elite wins. It's a really tough spot to be in, and it's right where Notre Dame is.
Well, it's hard because people are like, I think people kind of like commenting on Freeman's job as the head coach, and I'm like, no, he hasn't. Like, he is still working with those 10 to 15 ranked recruiting classes Brian Kelly left him.
Yep.
Like, he's still working with those.
And that's
now you're asking him.
Yeah.
And if he can push that recruiting up into the top 10, top 5, can we get those elite recruits then compete with
Yeah.
We played close to a team that has those elite players already.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, losing Keeley is a big loss for this current recruiting class. But it's one of those things where I go into it and I'm like, we talked all offseason about how we needed elite recruiting, and that's what Freeman was. That's the future Freeman is promising us, is elite recruiting. But then we go into a game without the elite recruits yet and be like, now go beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, you're building this out perfect. That was the exact dynamic Freeman was put into. That's why this was such a tough opening ask. Like, that is a tough dynamic. And I say this all the time. Just because Brian Kelly's gone doesn't mean all the issues Brian Kelly caused are gone. And that's a big deal. It's a big deal, especially when you're looking at talent in some of these areas.
I think the big complaint I have is not so much that Notre Dame lost or that they lost by 11. The big complaint I have is the offense looked terrible. You had 10 months to prepare for this game, and you looked like Notre Dame's playbook from the last 5 years. There was no difference in Tommy Tommy Reese's game plan from what it was under Kelly.
I think a lot of this, how much of this do you think was made to protect Buckner in this environment? Like, I'm open to that they were extra vanilla to protect him from throwing a dumb pick or something like that. But at the same time, there's a line there where you're preventing your own self from winning when you don't let your guy do anything either. So I would have liked to see them try a little bit more, or maybe they figured right away our offensive line isn't going to be good enough to do that. We just need to be in safe mode, which is depressing.
You're not, when you play these elite teams, and this was I think, the talk about Brian Kelly wanting to, go out there and just get the cover instead of getting the win. When you play these elite teams, you have to put every effort into forcing the big play. And if that turns out to be an interception once in a while, at least you try something instead of what they did here, where it was like, we're not even going to try. It felt very much like that.
Yeah, I felt that too at times.
And Freeman is a defensive coach. I don't know how much sway he has over Reese's play calling. This felt very much like, we talked when Brian Kelly left. Fan base talked about when Brian Kelly left how we were hoping that Brian Kelly was holding back Tommy Reese from implementing a fully, innovative offense.
Yep, and I think maybe we'll get there. Maybe this was just a tough one to start with, with the new quarterback in this environment, and they went extra conservative. I don't know. But thanks for the call this morning, my friend. Finishing thought? What do you think? Your main takeaway?
My main takeaway is I hope Reese figures out this offense at some point, because the defense looks great. The offense needs work.
Yep. Nope. I agree with you. But I do see a lot of potential in Buckner, and I want to see him develop, but that line has to get a lot better with it. Thanks for the call, my friend. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Take care. Call again. Okay. I got to tell you, I really appreciate Eric Tomal here with $100 super chat donation this morning. That is beautiful, my friend. I don't know what I did to deserve that, but that's very generous. I really appreciate it. What else do we have here? Wellington Davies, 1999 super chat. Let's see. What do we got here? What's the comment? Put it up on the screen. What does "we need to learn how to finish" mean? I'm assuming that's referencing Marcus Freeman's presser. It's something that I have on my list. Here's the thing. While I'm happy that the vibe showed me that Notre Dame can compete in these big environments, what I think he means by "we need to learn to know how to finish" is he's been around for 2 games and Notre Dame was winning both of them at the half and ended up losing. And I understand how that's a concern for Notre Dame people. I do. I understand how that's a concern and people don't like that. It's one thing if you didn't have the guys and you were never in these games. Freeman's been around for 2 now. And we've talked about how the bowl game's goofy with the coaching staff in flux and all that, how much you want to judge him on that. I'll leave that up to you. But the fact that he wasn't able to hold leads he's had in both of these last 2 ball games isn't great. That's what people don't like. Uncle Lou, I saw him in here giving me crap about moral victories, talking all of his leprechaun stuff. I did see Lou. I got to give Lou credit on this. He did do a video yesterday, and he was saying how he was disappointed that LSU was pulling down the SEC. I enjoyed that, Uncle Lou. I really did. I watched that video, and he was saying, LSU's pulling us down. 13-1. Everybody in the SEC won this weekend except for one. There's only one. They couldn't win in the fancy SEC. Go figure. It was Brian Kelly and his best friend Polian couldn't get on the winning program. Imagine that. Totally a shock to me that he couldn't get it going. 562. 562. We're talking to you. What's going on?
up, John? How's it going? Good morning.
I'm doing well, my friend. So, what are you thinking and feeling now that the weekend's over and things are starting to settle down a little bit? Where are you at with all this? What's your thought process? Tell me.
I got a few things here, man, and I'm just trying to be positive here. I'm all over the internet as much as everyone else is in Irish Nation after this loss. But I mean, I have a couple things here. I saw this one comment, and tell me if you like it or not. First half Freeman. I saw someone call him first half Freeman. And I don't know if I believe that, man. I know Oklahoma State was tough, but I mean, like you said, we inherited this pass regime that didn't do us any good. And is it really Tommy Rees who's the issue, or is Tommy Rees like that kid who this kid who has so many constraints, like a parent, like parent, is so strict with his kid, like Brian Kelly was, that wouldn't really let him do anything. And then now that he's off these, chains, if you will, he just doesn't know how to act. Like, he's so excited, but he just doesn't know how to act. And he's trying to make the best decision. Was he being conservative? Could he have, made better decisions? I'm just not really sure what to think about the coaching stuff.
Yeah, man, I just can't get over the Reese frustrations. I just can't. I just always leave expecting more and wanting more. And I understand that a lot of this is talent driven too. Like, I totally understand the concept that we don't have the bodies in the wide receiver room that we need to do what we want to do. I get that. However, your job now is to make what you do have work. And I didn't see enough of that Saturday night, and it's frustrating. I'm sick of seeing this defense be the backbone of the program. I need the offense to carry their weight in one of these big games and do their part. I need that.
Yeah, man, I definitely hear you there. And like after this last game, I'm not really sure like what it is. Is it the O line that definitely needs to be improved? I mean, it really looked like it. Is it like we just there's not enough wide receiver depth? Is it the play calling?
But I think it's but the issue is that I think it's a little bit of all of the things you talked about. And that's what makes it a challenge. Is it's a little bit of all of that that's in the mix, and it's hard to address 3 or 4 or 5 different issues all at the same time without ending up in a scenario where you plug one hole and then 2 more pop from the pressure. That's the challenge. However, the next 2 weeks, you should be able to work on a lot of this stuff without the intense pressure that comes with the Ohio State situation. So they can work on it,
yeah,
but it needs to be for sure.
No, yeah, I agree. And I think that, although these games, quote unquote, don't really matter, like we are supposed to win these, I think maybe it should be a good thing. Like, yeah, let's go back home. Let's get Marcus Freeman his first win. Let's get Tyler Buckner his first win as a starter. Let's get this team going. Tommy Rees, shake off whatever you need to shake off, brother.
Yeah.
You got to do it for us. You got to make it happen. You got to show this team that they are elite. They can be elite. I mean, we showed it in the first half of this game. I mean, we can compete with the top of the top, but I think we have the athletes for it. I know we lost Keon Keeley, but I mean, I still think with these top recruiting classes that we have coming in, I think we can really change this program around.
Yep, I agree with you, but I have a very hard time accepting 9 months of preparation for 10 points. That's almost an average of 1 point per month Reese has had to put together a plan for this. So that bothers me. It's on. I know you're playing a great defense. 10 points, that's not real life. 10 points is not real life. I don't care who it's against. That's not real life. It's not good enough, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. And I guess just in a different topic, I'm from Southern California, and I would really hope that we beat SC this year.
You have
because
to.
the way that they're looking with their
You have to.
yeah, the way did you see that game this
Yeah.
weekend? I mean, they killed it. I mean, although it's right, I get it, but I mean, they look. I mean, their new head coach looks pretty good for his first start.
Yeah.
I know they didn't play. I know they didn't play Ohio State, but I mean, they have top athletes. I mean,
they're going to get more. Yeah,
And-
that's the thing. You know, they're going to get more, you know. But the issue with them is, here's the issue with them. I'm glad you bring it up. It is ultra important that Notre Dame wins the first matchup when Freeman and Riley are there. Notre Dame has the series momentum, has been rattling off these wins against USC. Under no circumstances can you allow their 7-on-7 flag football team to flip the script and flip the momentum of that series year one under Riley. That cannot happen. You cannot let that rivalry flip year one. Cannot happen.
And then let me ask you this one, John. I know this loss stings, but does it make it any better if we do beat Clemson at home? We do slap SC in the face and give them that loss, and then let's say we do make it to the college football playoff. Like, does that make you feel any better?
I mean, obviously, yes. If you were able to do all that, but see, we don't have that body of work yet. I only have the one game body of work. But if what you said takes place, that's beautiful. That's a wonderful year one. That's a beautiful year one if that's how it plays out. I think all Notre Dame fans should be willing to live with that result. If that's the way it shapes up and ends up being. So what do you want to see this week? All right. Easier opponent. What are you really looking for to give you confidence for the next ball game where we do match up with somebody really tough?
I mean, like I said, dude, like, we just go in there, play good football, shut them out. I mean, I don't even know if you can consider North Carolina like.
Me neither.
Good.
Everybody
I mean,
everybody was saying upset alert for Notre Dame going to North Carolina. I'm not afraid of that now.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know the way that they looked this weekend against Appalachian State. Like, come on, like, you guys barely snuck away with the win against a nobody. Like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but let's just call a spade, right? They're nobody.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not really sure if NC State is going to be like one of those games where it's like, oh, this has so much hype around it. But yeah, man, I think like the next really good teams we're going to play is going to be Clemson, obviously, and SC, BYU. If they keep on winning.
Well, the good news is you have a little run up here to work some things out with some less stress, where you can work it out at home against lower opponents and then hopefully get your offense going. So that is good news. There's just more work offensively than I wanted there to be, and that makes me nervous.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I think we should take these two games, maybe next three, and in North Carolina, to really like Tommy Rees, for example, like, shake it off. Whatever you got to shake it off, and let's get some W's, but let's win in style. Let's prove that we can go out there and beat everybody, the teams who we're supposed to beat. And then once we get up against competition, just know that you can do this. Tommy Rees, just know that you can pull whatever you need to pull out of that little rabbit hat and be that boy wonder for us. Show the world that you're not just, turn over Tommy like you were back in the day and just giving Notre Dame all kinds of terrible recognition that we're all used to from all these other haters around the NCAA football world. I really think Marcus Freeman does have a really good staff behind him. But, I mean, my point in calling is, just to let, ND Nation know that hope is not over. I think that, this loss was really tough, and it does kind of seem similar to these losses that, Brian Kelly gave us. But I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. And I don't think you should fire Freeman. I don't think you should fire Tommy Reese. I just think that, it's a rough start, but I think there's some light at the end of the tunnel here.
Yep, I agree with you. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but there are some things that really need to get up to speed quickly. So I thank you for the call this morning. Enjoy your Labor Day, my friend.
You too, bro. Thanks.
Have a good one. Oh, Uncle Lou. Uncle Lou's just trying to get me all stressed out in the morning saying, would it help if you had a coach who knew what was going on and all that stuff? People are talking about Notre Dame in the playoff. Here's the deal. If Notre Dame runs the table and has one loss, and the one loss is covering the spread against Ohio State, and I expect Ohio State to be great the rest of the year, if Notre Dame's sitting there with one loss, they're going to be in the exact same position they would be in every year with one loss, sitting there on championship weekend, looking at the board of games, hoping everybody wins or loses to where it shakes out to where Notre Dame is in the discussion with one loss. That's all it's going to be. And if you don't think they're going to go undefeated the rest of the way, then forget it. They'll have 2 or 3 losses and then be in Brian Kelly's Camping World Bowl, right? 818, your comments are great. What's going on this morning?
Hey, what's up, John? It's Rodney. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. So what do you make of all this now that we have a little body of work? What are your takeaways?
Yeah, John. A couple things right off the bat. These are some random thoughts I'm going to throw your way, and then you can respond after, and we'll just go back and forth here. But number one, one thing you said in the off season, and I don't want to be nitpicky, but when you were saying you can never throw too many balls to Michael Mayer. Well, I see where you're going with that, but also when Michael Mayer gets a 4-yard, 5-yard pass and can't bulldoze over a safety or a small cornerback to get a first down, that's irritating. And look, I understand it was a good tackle, but I believe that was on a 3rd down play too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a couple plays where I thought
just short of the sticks. Short of the sticks, that one, yeah.
Yeah, and it was frustrating. It's like, I'm sorry, man. You're a number 1 tight end pick. Show us. When you're in a one-on-one matchup, you have to beat that guy in front of you. You just have to. And that bothered me. And so that was one of the first things I thought of in the first half, was just some of those plays to Michael Mayer. You got to show us why you're the number 1 tight end, why everybody says you're – just like going back to what you were saying about Tommy Reese, about everybody around me says he's this genius. However, having said all that, John, what I'm so encouraged by after now that the game, sitting on memory for a couple of days now, which I knew would happen, and you have that emotion kind of come off you. The score is not as close as the game actually was. I mean, this is a game that I think Ohio State probably was about 3 or 4 points better when it's all said and done. They did impress me with their power running game late in the game, especially in the fourth quarter. But Notre Dame made Ohio State do something they're not comfortable doing. And we talked about this. They put themselves in position to win the game. But like you said, why I'm so encouraged is I felt like, the defense was really good. I pushed back on some of the criticism of the front seven. They didn't have any outstanding plays. There was nobody that stepped up and was like, wow, that guy was just phenomenal today. But everybody played really, really good. And I am very encouraged going forward because the offense is going to get better. The offensive line is going to start. The first game back, they're playing Ohio State. It's only going to get better from here, man. I really do. And that's what I take away. They could have won this game. There were many, many moments where I think if they had let him loose a little bit, maybe he overthrows a couple guys, maybe he throws an interception, but also maybe he completes a pass for a touchdown. They are much more evenly matched than I would have expected. Freeman definitely had them ready to go. Al Golden called a really good game other than that double safety blitz, which I thought was a little that was risky. But other than that, he called a great game. Tommy Reed's the head scratcher. I think he's much better than what he allowed Buckner to be today, and I think we're going to see this going forward.
I think that's a very fair. I think that's actually a very fair way to phrase kind of what we're seeing with Reese. I do. I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's good. So what do you want to see this week? What do you want to see this offense get more comfortable, open up a little bit? Would that make you feel better? It'd make me feel a little better. And at the same time, I'll be frustrated you're only doing it against a lower level opponent. But at the same time, that's team in front of you. You got to work it out. So what do you want to see this week?
Well, Don, I'm a little surprised. And I understand not necessarily going crazy with the pass and opening things up and putting Bucker in a position where he has to overcome a horseshoe crowd and whatnot. But I am surprised we didn't see more creativity out of the running game. I thought so many, give it to Estime, a couple, for a little scamper, a couple yards, 3-4 yards here and there. I would have expected to see more creativity, maybe using Brady Lindsey on a reverse or a counter, or even using Chris Tyree a little bit more creatively than what they did. And a couple of times they tried a couple things. But I just thought, look, man, and going back to what I want to see from Michael Mayer, I want to see you play like a stud. I mean, he was there. He was a focal point of the game. I think Ohio State did take him out of it a little bit in the second half. But when you have a one-on-one matchup against a cornerback, you got to beat that guy. And that happened a little bit last year sometimes too. That's the one thing in his game he's got to improve on. When it's one-on-one, you and another person, it's either you or him. Those are the kind of plays that make you elite, John, or make a player elite. You have to win those matchups, and too often Notre Dame, and I said it, man, it takes a while to get the Brian Kelly out of Notre Dame. I still think it's there a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah. I will say I am encouraged with where things are going to go. I think Estime is going to be really good. Where they played themselves in the box, Sean, and yet they came out looking this good. They made it so the defense had to be dominant to have a chance, and it's exactly what they were. So I'm encouraged going forward, actually. I think the team's going to get really, really good. Yeah,
I think that's all very reasonable, actually. Very level-headed way to look at this.
By the way, John, one last comment. Yeah. I thought Buckner was really good. I thought Buckner played very calm. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
From here, but they didn't turn over the ball. They obviously didn't get any takeaways either. That's another thing I'm impressed with. It wasn't like Notre Dame did their part, but I got to say, Ohio State played a clean game too. I mean, it was a well-played game in that respect. A pretty good opening game for college football. I think both teams are I think Ohio State's probably going to win the rest of their games until they get to Michigan, and hopefully they'll win that one. And I think Notre Dame's going to, Clemson's a big test on November 4th. Until then, they should be really good. We'll see.
Yeah, Clemson's a big test. And the other reason the Clemson test is so interesting and intriguing to me is their defense is going to be really good, and their defensive front is going to be really good, like Ohio State. I like the idea that now Notre Dame has this window of time to get better. And then when they face that next monster defensive front, which will be Clemson, we need to see if there's improvement there. So that's your next big defensive front, offensive line matchup. So I need to see it improve. I think it will improve, but I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I expected more out of that offensive line Saturday night than I got.
I did too. I will say this, so just going off what you said. This is it sucks to have to play a team like Ohio State week one, and yet the encouraging thing about playing Ohio State week one, you know exactly who you are. You came to play. You were now outclassed by the moment. The athlete Notre Dame has per person is, it's close, John. The biggest difference is they don't have that one or two extra elite guys that could have maybe made that play. Mayer has that ability. That's what I'm saying. I was disappointed in Mayer a little bit. But other than that, man, I'm really encouraged going forward. I think have this as your first game and have all those problems right there. And yeah, this is an advantage in a way.
Yep. You know what? It's a hard lesson to learn, but did you learn more out of this game than you would blowing out Central, somebody, nobody, and then you feel good about yourself? You think you're inflating your numbers, but you don't know what's coming. like, I get what you're saying. There's a lot of benefit in playing the number 2 team right away. You know exactly where you're good enough and where you're not. You know, there's no doubt. You know exactly where you stand.
That secondary is far better than I thought.
Me too.
Game 1.
Me too.
The offensive line isn't.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go with you on that. The offensive line disappointed me, surprisingly. I do actually feel better about the secondary than I thought I would about the present and the future. I agree with you on that one.
All right, John, take care.
Beautiful. Have a good day, my friend. Thanks for calling. Huffer Billy Paw, $9.99 super chat. Appreciate you. Oh, let's see. Appreciate that. What's happening, Irish Nation? What's going on here? We're going to go to 707. 707, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, John. Happy Labor Day, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I lost $1,000 over the weekend, man.
Ooh, man. Well, you might need to do some more labor then to make up for it.
I called in a few days ago, told you I was dropping a G on my team. And you told me to call back afterwards.
How are you feeling about that?
Well, hey, scared money doesn't make money. You know what I'm saying? So
there you go.
And let me tell you something else. I actually put that bet on layaway, man. With my wife was like, okay, if this is what you want to do, you know, so there's some sacrifices I got to make, but I did it, and hey, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, it hurts, of course. But with that being said, I think it's a measuring stick game. We knew that going in. And I have the same sentiment as previous callers, man. I've been thinking about this. I was so pissed off, as you can probably imagine. But, you know, letting, you know, time go by and re-examining things, I really believe that it's Tommy Reese, man. I will have to say that. I mean, so we know that we have to get better players. We have to recruit better, but we also have to recruit better coaches. And so if that means that, you know, we're going to have some coaches that's exposed, so be it. And I'm doing the math on what happened in this game, John, and I'm like, I can only surmise that it comes down to the offensive coordinator, man. I'm not blaming on our offensive line too much. We lost you know, Patterson went out. You know, you got a future NFL player, the quarterback of that line that goes down. Christopher comes in to replace, and Tommy Reese continues you know, he didn't show that he could adjust to the situation. You know what I'm saying? Tommy Reese was a 3-star quarterback with a 79 rating, and he coaches as such. That's all I got.
I like that. Tying in his actual player rating into his coach's rating. I like that. I like that.
Tommy Reese he wasn't all that good of a quarterback when he was with us. I mean, he's a Notre Dame dude, so I never want to say that about, you know.
Yeah.
Your veterans, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Your guys.
Your Notre Dame players.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he used to piss me off so much, man, because it's like he coaches like he plays. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Very frustrating. But once in a while, you really like it.
he has flashes.
Yeah,
but that's a 3-star, right?
Man,
You know
that's a
what I mean?
great way. I love this call. This is a great way I might cut this up and post it on its own. I love the way you're framing this. He coaches how he plays. A 3-star recruit.
Exactly. So what this game did was, since Marcus Freeman is recruiting, you looking at your high 4 stars and an occasional 5, and you look at our, the 23 and 24 classes where we have damn near the whole roster is 4 stars, you got to start looking at your coaching staff as well.
Yeah.
And, Tommy Reese is a solid 3-star, dog. Look, there's very few 3-star players that make it to the league. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you got your occasional 3 stars that make it to the league, but it's a low percentage. While they're out there giving Tommy all these accolades, oh, he's this guru, he's this. Tommy does calculus when you need to do arithmetic, okay? You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, okay, so if you see what's happening, and he's looking at it from a 40,000-foot view, he's looking down at the field, seeing what's going on. So instead of allowing your 4-star, 5-star quarterback with his first start, man, I will tell you, man, Tyler Buckner, I'm proud of that dude.
Me
I'm
too.
also proud of our offensive line as well, too. I will tell you that. I'm not putting on our offensive line, and I'm not putting on Harry Easton, because the play calls are coming from up top, who sees the 50,000-foot view and still can't get it. You know what I'm saying? He went from the field playing 3-star, up top playing 3-star. It's like, well, come on, man. If you cannot look, Marcus Freeman told him the game plan. Coach Freeman said, we are going to establish the run and stop it, right? So when you were getting 2.3 yards a rush, what do, dude? Let's do football 101, right? Bring an extra body down, do whatever, but you get that extra yard or 2 that you need to get, and that opens up the rest of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And allow your quarterback, who's actually on the field, to do what he do. And you give him a set of plays, and they have different variations. Let him call what he's playing against. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just think that Tommy Reese is out of his depth, man. And I think that I would hope that Marcus Freeman had that late night coaches one-on-one with him and called him in there and was like, look, man, you know what I mean? Look, this is what's good.
I got to tell you this, since I started these call-in shows, this is by far my favorite call. And there ain't even really a close second. This is my favorite call. The whole 3-star recruit into 3-star coach. I love it. That is the best angle. You made my day, man. You made my day.
Thanks,
I can hear, dude, I can hear the frustration in your voice. I can hear it. But the visual you're painting is perfect. It all lines up. Depressing, but it all lines up.
Look, that's why Dante Moore's dad was like, we need to look at this dude first, man. Seriously. I'm not an insider or nothing, but I am a program manager, and I can see shit. I will see stuff when I see it.
Yeah.
And I know what happened. You know what I'm saying? His dad was like, let's see how he coached first. And sure enough, this son gonna go in there against a top.
Well, wait a second now. Wait a second now. If you're gonna do that, what do they think about Oregon? If you're gonna judge Notre Dame, how good does it look that you're heading out to Oregon right now? Look what happened to them boys.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
Bad.
They got ran, dude.
Ooh.
Yeah, they got ran. Look, Dante, like, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? But let me tell you something else.
But hey, that Nike money
think
still
that-
comes through, though. That Nike money still comes through, even if they lose by 50. Those Nike checks
Yeah.
still come through, buddy.
Yeah. But let me tell you something. That's the West Coast, and they got high taxes, dog.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. That's that
So
West
Nike
Coast.
money ain't really Nike money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And you all, but anyways, but look, this was a measuring stick game, and I think it was a measuring stick game. Of course, the players, every game they're measured, but I think this was kind of like a coaching measuring stick game because we think, look, Al Golden had his defensive philosophy. Marcus Freeman is a first-year coach, dude. Never coached before, playing against a coach that has been there, won, has all this. Marcus Freeman has to depend on his offensive and defensive coordinators to do their job, right? And he brought in Al Golden, who did his job. I will say that. He had the game plan. And I told you, John, they will not score over 30 on this defense. Did I not tell you that?
You did.
Did I not tell you that?
You did. You did.
I should have took the line, though. I should have took
Yeah.
the line.
No, but you did. No, I'm going to give you credit. You did come on here and you said we would hold them underneath that. I didn't think it was likely, so I give you full credit for that.
Yeah, I told you they will not. Although, if you want to go down to the 10,000 foot, even in the weeds, yes, it would have been nice to have more deflected balls, sacks, pressures, turnovers. Yes, of course. But they still held this team that's projected to have like 47 a game or whatever to 21, the most prolific offense to 21 points. They did their job.
Yep, they did.
It was a boneheaded play. It was that boneheaded double safety blitz. I don't know who called that.
Yeah.
I put that on. I don't know. I don't know. But that was a freshman that came in that gave the play away. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, it's I'm encouraged.
Well,
I'm
let's hope.
not blaming East fan.
Let's just hope your buddy Tommy
ahead.
Reese. Let's hope Reese, goes to some camps and raises his star rating over the next week.
Hey, he better. He better, because I bet you Coach Freeman is like, look, dog. I'm not worried about no 11-1. I'm worried about Marshall next week. Each game from here on out is a review on Tommy Reese. I'm not worried about this defense, and I'm not worried about. I am a bit worried about our offensive line, but you have to put your offensive line in a position to succeed. You see what I'm saying? He was like, oh my God. Anyways, so I think each game from here on out is a after action review on Tommy Reese. Seriously.
Well, then
That's
there's no reason not to be able to put up gaudy numbers next week. So we need to see it, or it's a huge red flag. It's one thing not to put up production against Ohio State at their place week 1 on the road with the new quarterback. It's a totally different thing not to put up numbers at home.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We saw the deficiencies, and we see where we need to get better, and I think it's that the offensive that offensive side of the ball, and we know who runs it. So, but thanks so much, John.
No problem. Hey, I gotta tell you, man,
Happy Labor Day.
you gotta keep calling. That was the most entertaining call I've had since I started this program. Call again.
Hey, lock my number in, John.
That's
lock my
what
number in, man.
I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna be at the game next week. So if you go down there, you know what I'm saying? It'll be cool to see you, run into you.
I'm gonna go to Cal, Stanford, Clemson. Those will be my 3.
I'll be at the Cal game, so hopefully we can connect.
Beautiful. I got your number here, man. I'll shoot you a text.
Sounds good, John.
Beautiful.
Take it easy.
Thanks for the entertaining call. I needed that. I appreciate you.
No doubt.
Take care. Oh, that was entertaining. I've never really went as far as to match up who Tommy Reese is as a coach to who he is as a player. A struggling 3-star with some bright points and some downside. That's beautiful. Here's the thing, Crimson Forever. Crimson Forever's coming at me with, once again, ND chokes on the big stage. Here's the issue with that. I need to know exactly how you define choke. How is it a choke when you're a 17.5-point underdog at their place and they have all the experience and more talent than you, and then you cover the spread but lose? I don't call that a choke. A choke is when you're supposed to win and you don't do it. Notre Dame was never supposed to win this game. So I don't get how that's a choke. How could a team that loses when they were predicted to lose by 17 points, how is that the definition of a choke? You can't call it a choke when the team who was supposed to lose lost. You can't. $202, we're talking to you. Good morning. Happy Labor Day.
Good morning, Don. It's your best friend, MD Gal, Miss Mary Sunshine. How are you?
I'm doing well. I think I saw you getting in the mix on some Twitter things. I don't think you're happy with Thomas Reese, are you?
Well, we spoke about this Saturday morning, and we were right. And so the plus side, let's start with happy thoughts. One of our unknowns was, how would Marcus be on the sideline in general? Would he be scared? Would he be disengaged? Would he be angry? I thought he was perfect. I thought it was exactly the right demeanor for a coach to have. He was engaged. He was positive. And for me, the emblematic moment of the game was when he had to call a timeout when it was, 2nd and 8 on our own 4-yard line because Tyler was confused or something was wrong. And it was a bad timeout. And Tyler came back to the sideline looking sheepish. And Marcus just kind of gave him a little smirk, tapped him on the helmet.
Yep.
That's how you coach.
Yep. And
so
that is such something like the dynamic you just described may not register to a lot of people or maybe even a lot of different fan bases. But for somebody like me, I'm keyed into that kind of stuff because I'm so keenly aware of the dynamic before. And I want to see the dynamic be to what I think is a healthier one in this era. Little things like that matter. And I know that's like a small picture thing to some people, but it matters. Him putting his hand on his helmet, bringing him in like that. I love that kind of vibe. And I just think Notre Dame could get further long-term with that kind of atmosphere. That's just how I feel. I'm still frustrated with what happened, but I loved seeing that.
Exactly. And not to put on any rose-colored glasses, but let's admit, this game could have gone so much worse. It really could have.
That is the most Notre Dame-y reaction. Like we're sitting there like, oh man, it could have been worse. It could have been better too, but it also could have been way worse. You could have been Oregon on the big stage.
Exactly. And am I happy we lost? I'm completely furious that we lost, especially because, as you've been discussing with your previous callers, defense did its job, man. They poured blood on that field and worked till they dropped. And they held the number one offense in 4 categories last year at 21 points.
Yep.
Astronomically good. Nobody would have predicted that. If I had told you Saturday we were going to hold them to 21 points, you would have hung up on me and blocked my number.
I'm telling you, I would have
called the authorities.
I would have never, ever, ever figured that we would hold them even really probably under 30. 30 was about my line. 21, you will, no matter what it looks like, you would take it 100% of the time. The issue is I need this offense to start carrying their weight in the biggest games. I'm waiting for it. I need it.
Well, and that brings us to our biggest fear that once again was proven true on the big stage. And let's remember, this was not our OC's first game. He had 2 full seasons. We've seen his ceiling. Now, he is a good guy. He is a hard worker. He is a Notre Dame guy. No one wants him fired. No one wants him frog walked off campus. But what does Marcus do now? And I think the answer is a little more supervision, a little more collective game planning, because his head is just not there. You know, we've all mentioned we had injuries. Our wide receiver room is thin, and then we lost J-Pat. But these are all knowns. These were knowns for weeks. So game plan around it. That's your job. This isn't high school football. You're expected to be better, and you say that you are better. Well, then be better. And if you can't, a plan needs to be put in place. We have 2 vets who are 2 of the fastest guys in college football, Lindsey and Tyree. Maybe 1 special play for Tyree all night.
Yeah.
You're not using your assets. And I get, it's very clear that he was playing not to fumble. He was playing not to get intercepted. I agree with that. But there are better ways to accomplish that goal than running Logan Diggs up the middle into a 5-man front 3 times in a row.
Yeah, here's the dynamic. This is very, very touchy and very, very tricky. It is obvious that you can see how close Marcus Freeman and Tommy Rees are just as guys, as Notre Dame guys. They are very, very close. That's a very tricky dynamic then for Marcus, because he's the new guy. And then there's Tommy, the Notre Dame guy. And then so he's kind of that link, to natural Notre Dame, organic Notre Dame. They're all close. Marcus was kind of like, I'm going to do the defense. The offense is all yours. That's your project. If it goes sideways, that's where it gets awkward. That's where new first-time head coaches have to learn the tough way of how to be a first-time head coach. How do you have that discussion you're talking about, where if the offense isn't producing, Marcus needs to go have that talk with Tommy? That ain't comfortable. Those are some tough discussions that might have to be had. And guess what? That's why you get paid what you do to make these decisions as the head coach. I don't want it to come to that, but something's got to give here with this offense. I need more. I just need more. I need more.
I gave Tommy a lot of time, if you will. I thought he was going conservative first. Let's try the small stuff. Let's not get too fancy, sophisticated, exotic. Okay, that's not working. He would get progressively more creative, progressively more aggressive. Nothing. And then it was pretty clear that when Tyler tried that quarterback draw on 3rd and 19, that he checked into that play.
Yep.
Why would anyone ever tell him he could do that?
Yeah.
Why did he think that was even normal?
Yep. Check right into your wall.
And, nobody thinks Tyler had a bad game. Nobody puts this on Tyler. Clean game, his first start in the Horseshoe on Saturday night.
I love that. That is all. Here's the wild part of this. The wild part of this is I'm pleasantly surprised with the defensive points allowed. Very pleasantly surprised. But if you told me going into this game, Notre Dame was only going to score 10 points, I would have figured that would mean Buckner's turning the ball over. Strip sack, he's running around, throwing it to their linebackers, a strip sack and 2 fumbles. 10 points tells me the new quarterback messed it all up. That really wasn't the case. I was proud of Buckner. The moment wasn't too big for him, and that's a big deal to me.
Yeah. I mean, he was in the middle of getting his jaw broken, and he connects really, really nicely with Styles.
Yeah,
he didn't freak out. He didn't freak out. He got the ball where it was supposed to be.
Yeah, how would you get this wide receiver group more engaged? What would you do? Like, what would be your plan now that we're transitioning into a game against a lesser opponent? I'm not trying to be offensive, but a lesser opponent. How would you try and get these guys engaged and in the game? Because you need some action from that group. What would you try this week to get them going?
Why not 4 wide? Why not more screens? I mean, isn't that sort of football 101 when your O-line is a little overmatched? Just pop it right over the line of scrimmage. We were told most of the offseason by the sports writers, the media on the ground in South Bend, Chris Tyree will have more touches than Audric Estime, but not in the running game, right? It was all about Tyree in the slot and crossing routes. Let's try some of that. And once that starts working, you send, hi Merriweather, hi 4-star recruit. Would you like to play? Let's have you play. Let's send him and Zoe down the sideline, and then.
But are you
Tyler,
Are you surprised that given the depth in that wide receiver room, that guy couldn't get one ball thrown to him the other night? Like go make a play and like one ball. Like I mean, man, like you could be pleasantly surprised what a young guy could do if you just give him the opportunity. I thought they would explore a little more with the wide receivers, and they really didn't. And I think that's a compliment to Ohio State and their defense. But I think it also tells me that inside Notre Dame, they were concerned and they didn't want to even try and push it, even put themselves in a position, to be throwing interceptions or whatever. But it bordered on getting too conservative to where it was like Brian Kelly playing not to lose instead of playing to win.
Very much so. And my brother, even in the first, I think, 5 minutes of the game, he said, Tommy Rees is showing the offense. He doesn't believe in them. It's a fine line between playing smart and careful and playing scared and telling Tobias Merriweather, I don't think you're good enough.
Yeah. No, that line.
The kid is 6'4". The kid is 6'4". Send him.
Right. You're telling me you can't whip one ball down there to a guy that big and see what happens? Like, just do it. Sometimes I think these coaches overthink themselves. Sometimes they make it more complicated than I think it has to be. Sometimes football is as simple as let a great athlete get in a position to make a great play. And if you do that and get out of the way, you might be pleasantly surprised with the results sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Salerno, the hero of the game. Sports Center catch.
Yep.
Why not? God love him. He was a walk-on. Why don't you trust your 4-star? Why don't you trust Zoe Styles, who is highly rated and he's got game experience?
And Styles, listen, here's the deal with Styles. That is your number one guy. Mayer, but he's a tight end. Obviously, pass catching Mayer's your number one receiver. However, as far as the wide receivers, Styles he's got to be that alpha. He's got to be the number one. He's got to be a dog. I can't have you having one catch and it was the first minute of the game. Like, I can't. That's not workable. Like, that's not real life. Like, that's not a workable dynamic. And I expected more. I didn't expect great, but I did expect more.
And this, unfortunately, this was our first game of the year, and it was a tall task to expect lights out on this stage. But we talked, they talked all summer about this team surprising people, about this team being locked in, about Tommy Rees really ready to go pedal to the metal. And you just didn't. And now it's such a squandered opportunity. And if this game were played in 3 weeks, I like our chances a lot, but it wasn't. This is the task you were handed. Now, here's the thing. If we win out, and I don't know about Clemson, I do not know about that game, Ohio State could lose to Michigan. This is a thing that could happen. And if that happens, we're not going to the college playoff at 11-1 with a loss to a team with at least one loss, right?
Now,
we hold our destiny in our hands.
Here's the other question, though. The other question is, what do you think the odds are that Notre Dame runs the table? I think it's very, very hard to lose your first game and then be perfect the rest of the year. That's asking a lot. I do think North Carolina looks a lot worse than a lot of people thought they were going to look when you go to their place shortly. There's no doubt that USC game is on the list here of can't lose. But the Clemson one's the one I'm most intrigued in because they're the next team on the only other team on the schedule with a defensive front that's going to test you the way Ohio State did. I like this gap in the schedule. Let's see Notre Dame work this offense. And then the next time they match up the great defensive front, let's see if they could have more success.
Yeah, we're definitely facing the best defense in Clemson. Do we recapture the magic of 2020? Do we, does DJ Oyunglele panic again? I don't know.
Yep. And we got a lot of time that's what, first week of November, 11-5, I believe that game is. So we have a lot of time, but I do like this. I like this cushion because you have a lot of time to work on things, and then we're going to see what happens. So as we look to this week, what do you need to see to feel better? Is it just the offense open up? And even though in your mind it's against a lesser opponent, it just makes you feel better to see us do well? Like what do you need to see to really feel like we accomplished something this week?
I want 3 defensive turnovers. I want 40 points. I want no injuries of any kind. And I want a shutout. This is Marshall. I'm still not okay with the fact that this is Marshall. I am infuriated every time I see a tweet from the ticket office telling me to, quote, come home. They are dangerously close to calling this game homecoming. Notre Dame doesn't have homecomings. We're always home.
I like that.
And they're paying for their scheduling mistake. I can't get right with it. But okay, fine, Marshall, you want to show up, and team, you want to show that you can bounce back, and we know you can. We've seen you do it. I want to shut out. I'm not kidding around. Yeah,
and defensively, I'm right there with you. But offensively, I've after what we just went through, none of this fan base has the patience for a slow first half against Marshall. Like, could you imagine could you imagine Twitter? Imagine Twitter. Like, it's one thing to struggle against Ohio State on the road. If we get home and we are having trouble doing things offensively against Marshall, this fan base is going to get very restless very quickly.
Yeah. And I guess it's a question of going too far in the other direction, letting the pendulum swing too far in the other direction, where suddenly we're swinging all over the place, like NC State 2016.
But see, it doesn't have to be that, but just build a plan that comfortably fits the situation and one where you can build off of it. Like, you have to find a level here, like a functioning level to start at and get proficient at it with this wide receiver group and then add from there. It was like that project didn't even get started Saturday night because they weren't involved enough to even get it going. So I don't even feel like they got that started, working the wide receivers.
Yeah, it was like we were waiting for the game to start.
Right. Like,
through the game.
Seriously. One catch.
But this time,
give me a break. 3 wide receivers, 1 catch each. That's not real football. Like, that's not a big boy offense. It's not. That is not big boy football.
That's not good recruiting.
Most definitely a problem.
But Notre Dame and never play.
But that's
no, Marcus.
That's the issue, though. That's the in-between we're in now with the recruiting and the development errors from before. But in a time period where all Marcus can do is work his way with what he has now until we get down the road. 2 years from now, wide receiver is going to be a room of depth in Notre Dame. It's not going to be a weakness. 2 or 3 years. It's going to be, you're going to look at that group and go, wow, look at all the good guys we have in the backups coming up. We're just not there yet, and we need to find a way to make it work.
Well, and it's Marshall. So take chances you didn't want to take against Ohio State. Trust the defense not to panic if something bad happens. Know that the defense will still get those guys 3 and out.
The fact that it's
A
Marshall,
little bit.
the fact that it's Marshall should free that offense up to be able to do some things to build some confidence. Let them have a little fun and get out there and run around a little bit, build a little confidence. You have some flexibility here in the point total you didn't have this week against Ohio State. So I need to see that offense evolve a lot in week 2. That's the number one thing I need to see change. And that's what I feel. Final word from you, my friend. Great call. Terrific. Your last 2 calls have been dynamite.
Well, I'll leave you with this. I think I lost my prop bet. I don't think we had over 5 holding non-calls, but we had definitely 4 really spectacular holding non-calls. So I guess I owe you $1, my friend.
Oh, there you go. We were close. We were in the ballpark. Well, thanks for the call again. Fantastic call. Really good points. And keep giving everybody our time on Twitter. I appreciate that kind of thing.
Oh, it's my specialty. Have a great day, John. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Man, that was a really good call. She is on top of it. Saturday morning, her call was good too, man. She is tuned in. Next on the line, 707, Slice of Heaven. You're on the air.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. Happy Labor Day. How are you doing? How are you feeling? What are you thinking?
Well, I called you before too, and I think I'm probably going to make it a weekly thing because I really enjoy your show. And I heard your last night you posted your podcast, and you named about 5 reasons of needed improvement, I think. But I think the caller, like 3, maybe 4 callers ago, talked about that lingering BK effect, Brian Kelly effect. And I think that lingering effect is Tommy Rees, because if you remember, Tommy Rees' dad was in the NFL, right? Office job. And I think back at the time Rees was playing, Brian Kelly was looking, he had aspirations and dreams of the NFL, if you don't recall that, right after he got to the title game with Alabama.
Yep.
So I think that's one of the things that was a lingering BK is Tommy Rees. He is the problem, like that caller from 707. He stole all my thunder on Rees. So I don't want to have to bash him again, but as long as he's there, I don't think we're going to, I'll be surprised if CJ Carr stays with us, because I'm sure he's talking to his parents and kids at Michigan, and, I'd be surprised if he stayed to play for Rees. So I'm hoping, like that girl said, she hopes we don't fire him. I hope we fire him tomorrow, I don't like him at all. And it's going to prove itself. Like, he'll win the games he's supposed to, just like BK did, So Clemson's D is going to be way better than what we saw with Ohio State, in my opinion. And so imagine Rees' offense against them. I mean, that's a loss. It's a home loss. And then we have to go and play the USC offense. And so can Rees keep them off the field? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know how good their defense is, but I know that they score a lot of points.
Yeah,
so
it's just
you gotta keep them off the field. Rees proved he couldn't do that with Ohio State.
It's so frustrating. Like, I don't want to be a stereotypical Tommy Rees hater. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want that to be my angle. I'm not trying to be that contrarian. Like, that's not my point. And I know there are personnel issues. We all know that. But the point is, I'm baking that in when I say I still expected and needed more at Ohio State. Like, I'm baking in the fact that I admit areas of the roster are flawed. Even in that dynamic, I expected more. I just did. I expected more.
Well, the problem too is, and I said it. I said I can name you 3 things. If we lose, I'll point out the 3 things before the game's even played. And the first thing was Tommy Rees. The second thing was Zeke Correll, and the third thing was Tommy Rees. And Zeke Correll is just an undersized. He doesn't have any upper body strength. It's probably worse. He's got no leg push. He's in the middle of that line. Now I understand Patterson was out, and that's huge. But Kristofic played last year. It's not like you were putting in some junior. And Correll is a 5th-year guy. He's a stand guy from when he was last here. And so I think he has lingering effects of liking him and trusting him. But if you watch the play, that guy Eichenberg, that linebacker, 35, just ate him up every time he went up the middle. Zeke didn't even look for him. He just was trying to help Kristofic. And it just was like the dumb thing to do. You have to be aware of everything, you know? You're in the center of that line. So he's another guy that we got to get something better than him, because I think the game plan was very good. You were going to Freeman said, we're going to run the ball, right? And that is a good game plan. You try and eat up the clock. You try and keep their offense. And I'll tell you, the way Notre Dame's defense started, I think Stroud had a scared look in his eye in that first half.
Me
he didn't
too.
Look comfortable at all.
I agree with that. And I agree with you that the philosophical approach to start this game was 100% correct. The problem was, to be able to run the ball and keep them off the field, you got to be able to run the ball and keep them off the field.
Right. And you have to have an elite line, and Notre Dame's not there yet because they don't have a good center. Zeke Correll is not good. He was his best year. They played him a little bit as a freshman, and he wasn't bad, but he'd only got a taste of it. And I thought I liked what I saw, but each year he's gotten progressively worse, as you could see that this is the only year he got to start, you know, and it's his 5th year. So I think he's a real problem. But on the other side of things, I'd like to talk a little bit. I loved the way Howard Cross played yesterday.
Wasn't that a pleasant surprise? And he went in there with that sack right away early. And one thing that we mentioned, I don't know if you caught this or not, but when we did the pregame shows, I was saying if Notre Dame's going to have a chance here, you need your stars to be stars, like your established knowns, your entities you count on. But you need other guys to step up too. And there's Howard Cross. And he's a guy that the beat writers were mentioning in camp that kept standing out. And they would say, when we get our little window where they let the media in, Howard Cross is making a play. He's getting penetration. I love to see that from a guy that isn't like a brand name Notre Dame guy. I loved it. That was very encouraging.
It was. And not only that, but Jacob Lacey played good. And Jason Ademalola, he had a personal foul early, which I liked. You know?
Yeah, little attitude.
They're going to come in there to smash him in the mouth, and that's what they did. You know, they had a very good aggressive defense to start. But unfortunately, the left tackle just ate up Foskey. He was invisible that game. And Mills had a chance. Like, they have some mountain of a guy at their right tackle. He's just a monster-looking guy. But he had 3 where he jumped off sides, you know?
Yep.
He moved, and they had 3 calls against that monster. And so that means that Riley must have been doing something to scare him, because he wasn't comfortable at all, right?
Yeah, it seemed like it was working.
But I didn't see many tackles from Mills, so he was so-so. I wanted a sack from him and a one from Foskey minimum, and both were kind of invisible on that rush.
But now, listen,
I
honestly have not gone back to check. Were they doing extra things to cover Foskey? Like, were they chipping him or doubling him or moving guys over there? Or like, because I expected to hear his name a lot more than I did. Were they chipping him? What were they doing?
Wasn't getting penetration. Like, he wasn't able to bull rush. He wasn't able to twist or stunt. You know, like he had nothing. He was nullified. And then my question also was, where was Prince Colley? Did he play at all?
That's one I didn't hear that name either.
And then Justin Ademalola, the brother, did he play?
I think he was out there. Again, sometimes I get those two mixed up. Let me ask you this, though. On the pleasant side, I actually feel a little bit better about the Notre Dame secondary than I think I did entering this game. I wasn't
Absolutely.
I wasn't expecting to.
Absolutely. That kid, Benjamin Morrison, I
Yeah.
like him. He's a frosh.
And I was not expecting to come out of this game saying that, but I genuinely mean that. So on the plus side, I actually feel like I like the potential in that room more than I thought, and that is a rarity coming from a Notre Dame guy.
Yeah, I know. It's not often that we get to brag about our secondary, but they did a pretty good job. Cam Hart disappointed me, and he's going to disappoint me all year because he's still learning the position. You know, he was drafted offensively, and last year they didn't play him. They used Clarence Lewis on all their best receivers, so he was really learning last year. And then this year he looked like he was in that game behind every play, like just chasing after. The guy got by him, like he was just chasing to catch him. You know, I didn't see anything good from him either. But another thing on that 2D blitz, when they did that blitz and it was shown for everybody to see, the problem with that was that they started their charge about 1 second after the ball was snapped. Like they should have been anticipating moving because they were already very deep, right? They were about at least 12 yards off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, you can't get there in time. There's no way.
They didn't even start charging until a second after the ball snapped. So you should have been having them moving. If you're coming, come, right? And so that's what they should have done. And if that makes them call a timeout, watch, if they see it, that's fine. We'll save that for another time. But it just took too long to develop, and that's why it didn't work. They started too far back, and then they didn't come in quick.
Yep. And so that was a questionable call. But overall, if I'm laying there at the end of the night, rattling things in my head, I'm not sitting there stressing about that defense the same way I am offensively. So moving.
No, absolutely not.
Let's
defense,
move this forward.
Thing, you know, Reeves has no offense in the second half, so the defense got tired, just like the Fiesta Bowl.
That's exactly what it was, and it's a bad recipe. So let's move this forward. Now you have a little less intimidating opponent this week. You're at home. We need to stabilize things, get this Freeman win out of the way, and get things stable. What are you really looking to see out of this week? Well, like what's going to give you comfort? I imagine you're not going to say, oh, just beat Marshall and then I'm good. I imagine you have a laundry list of things you want Notre Dame to work on to make you feel better. What do you need to see to feel better when the game ends Saturday at Notre Dame Stadium?
Well, you know, I'm not really motivated. I know it's going to be a win. Tommy Rees will score, I would imagine, 59 points because this is what he does. Like that other caller from 707 said, you know, he was a 3-star player, and now he's a 3-star, you know, offensive coordinator. He ran out of ideas. He shoots his load in the first half every game. You know, he hasn't proven a thing to me yet. So, of course, now in this team, Marshall, I mean, why are we even playing them? But, you know, if we get an injury because we play in Marshall, I'm going to be mad. But I think we're going to roll up big points because that's how Tommy Rees, you know, when he doesn't have pressure on him.
Exactly.
He's a genius. Right?
But see, that's what makes us, that's why my hair's falling out, because it can't be, but it can't be, you can't do anything against Ohio State. Then you put up 45 or whatever against Marshall. And then I'm supposed to just feel like everything's fine now. Like it doesn't work that way. It's so frustrating. But the one thing you brought up that I think is the most important when you're talking about this offensive dynamic is adjustments win big football games. And I'm having trouble seeing Notre Dame adjust offensively. Like once the
we haven't seen it.
Right.
You know,
once the defense kind of figures out what Notre Dame wants to do, then they adjust. Notre Dame's not done a good job the last couple ball games of adjusting off the adjustment, and that needs to get better. And that is a Reese thing.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to do that.
Yeah. And I don't see why they moved Jared Patterson to guard. He has been his whole career a very good center, you know? And so that is like the most important position in my opinion, because they touch the ball every time. But you know, to have a guy like Terrell there as opposed to Patterson, I don't understand it. You know, why let that guy move to a different spot when he was so adequate, you know, to very good as a center?
Yeah, it's, man, can I ask you, are we fools for thinking that Harry coming back, we would just see a more tough physical offensive line that could push Ohio State around a little bit? Are we fools for that?
That's a damn good question, because
am I dumb?
You know,
am I dumb for
He
this?
was one of the disciples of Joe Moore, and so you got to give him credit just for that alone. If he's a smart man, he's going to use a lot of his philosophies, and we know Joe Moore was fantastic.
Yep.
I've never seen a better one.
Me neither.
But
that's why they named the award after the guy.
Different. So, you know, can he be as good? No, he's not going to be as good. But can he adopt some of those philosophies, and can he motivate these kids to be better? And I haven't seen it. I haven't seen offensive linemen. You know, I love the idea that Freeman wants us to run the ball. I think that's just, you finally got to let big dogs eat. Like Reeves, you passed 67 times in that Fiesta Bowl. That offensive line got the crap kicked out of them because they have to always be in defensive mode.
Mm-hmm.
Let the big boys run, you know, attack.
Yeah. But
another thing is, if you don't have good enough big boys, then you're not going to be able to run and attack, you know, and that's what we saw yesterday. And I don't think Ohio State's defense is nearly as vaunted as Clemson. And I don't, you know, I think that for us to only get 10 on them was really a shame. But, you know, then you point to Patterson not playing and Zeke Carell centering the ball. So you see that there are weaknesses in trying to run the ball against anybody. I mean, who knows what Marshall will present, but I think they were watching what that guy Eichenberg did to Carell. He crushed him.
Yeah, for sure. That was
another
a
thing
struggle.
I'm thinking too, John, is that Michael Mayer, I mean, I'm disappointed in him. Everyone talks the world about him like he's going to be a first-round pick. Well, to me, he's slow and lumbering. And, you know, if you remember Mark Bavaro, he's very similar to that. Tyler Eifert was big and fast and a beast. Like, he gave punishment. And he could catch the ball. And he could run with it. I mean, he's the best I've ever seen at Notre Dame. And I remember some very good ones along the way, you know. But I loved Tyler Eifert.
Yeah, and then,
you know
what?
I think Mayer is...
It's tough, though. The other thing is, it's tough when you're the only guy doing anything, right? Like, he had 5 passes. It's also hard because the whole spotlight was on him because he was the only one. Let me ask this. How did you feel about the composure of Tyler Buchner in this environment? Moving the ball was a struggle, but I did not feel like he was overwhelmed.
You didn't feel like who was?
Buchner. I don't feel like the moment was too big for him. I just think the way things were structured is hard.
He's going to be good. He just needs to have a good line in front of him, and he doesn't have that. And that's the problem. I mean, it's so nice to think about all these kids that are behind these starters. But you know what? If these starters aren't getting them done, let's see the kids behind them. Put them in. Because if you say you want to run the ball, and you got a guy like Carell who's not physically strong, has no leg push. I watched his summer clips, and he was never good. He was just like, he was having struggling times when the defensive guy is supposed to let him push him. He couldn't even do it. The guy would just stand him up, and he couldn't do anything. So he's my real, like, to the running game, he's a hurtful thing. And, you know, that Salerno, that girl, that ND gal, said that he was the star of the game. Well, he made one catch that was kind of lucky, and then he had one pass interference offensively. So,
hey,
I mean, I don't know.
What you need to understand is, in this Notre Dame offense, catching one pass makes you a star. Maybe that's the angle.
I know.
If you catch one, you're a star.
I mean, this guy has been I don't know. There's been some disappointments to come along, but he was such a talked about kid coming from Oregon, right? Or somewhere up there, Washington.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, well, we'll see what happens this week, my friend. I hope for some offensive improvement. Thank you for the call.
You bet.
Have a good day. Enjoy your Labor Day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Oh, geez. Disappointed in Luggs. Salerno's catch was clutch. Yeah, it was. The problem is, why do I need circus catches just for us to move the ball a little bit? Like, it doesn't have to be that hard. It's like we need these circle catches to be able to do anything. It drives me crazy. Indy was 2 plays for being shut out. I guess you could look at it that way, and I can't really argue it either. Oh, God. 7:07.
Hey, John.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Having a cup of coffee, enjoying the morning.
There you go. So how do you feel about all this now that the football weekend has passed us by for the first time?
I actually feel really good. I'm a little bit on a different trip about the game than a lot of people are.
But that's fantastic. But you know what? That's perfect. I like that kind of having some differences. So tell us where you're at compared to where other people are at. I love that.
Yeah. So, just a quick overview. We're talking, we still have the same players that Kelly recruited. We're even Tommy Reese. This is a new situation. Yes, he's been here for a couple of years, but he hasn't been under Marcus for a couple of years. The whole situation's new. It's been chaotic. I think everyone is going to be learning and growing. Yeah, there was a lot of mistakes, but that was all over college football this weekend. And even Tommy, I think everything is going to be fine. I think we look good. I think Buckner looks good, which is one of the hardest things for us to get, is that solid quarterback that can make plays. And I think Buckner is that guy. I think he still has a lot to learn, a lot of room to grow, but I think he showed enough to show that he can be that guy for us. And that's one of the hardest things to get. Everything else can come around. Tommy can get, and I don't know whether it's going to come from inside of him or from Marcus. But he's going to change because of what happened this weekend, and that's easy to change, the X's and the O's. I have faith in Harry Heastan to get the offensive line together, and so I feel like this was really close to. This was better than most people's predictions, right? Including Vegas's money. So I think overall there's a lot of things to work out. It's early in this whole situation, and it's game one in the shoe. We came out, I think, pretty unscathed, and actually better looking because we look like we can compete with big boys in big games. Yeah, we messed up at the end, but I think looking forward, things are looking good.
You know what?
With how things work.
I really appreciate this call, because it helps balance out some of the doom and gloom. And even somebody like me focuses on the glass half empty a lot of times. So I appreciate that side of it. What are you going to need to see against Marshall to feel even better? Is it just this offense to put up a lot of points and do a lot of interesting things so you feel better? Well, what are you going to need to see this week?
I'm not even so concerned about the points. What I want is for them to be working on getting the confidence of everybody from Reese to Buckner to the receivers. Just get kids' confidences up. Do some big plays. Throw the ball downfield. Run until you make it work. But experiment with the things that didn't get done this week. And get those things going. And I don't really think in the end of the year, no one's going to care if we beat Marshall by 14 or 40. It's going to be, did we beat BYU? Did we beat Clemson? Did we beat USC? Did we win? And did we win the rest of the games? And I think, I don't know of very many people who picked us to go undefeated this year.
Right. Especially with that schedule. It's a lot tougher schedule in the last couple of years, for sure.
Absolutely. If we go into the end of the year with one loss against Ohio State, game one that we led almost until the fourth quarter, and then we beat the rest of the teams on our schedule. I mean, I don't see how you could be much happier than that situation going into this year with the situations we're in, the injuries we have, the lack of depth that we have. We have some great players, but we have a shortage of depth.
Yeah.
And so we get injuries, and it hurts us more than it hurts in Ohio State when they get an injury, because they just have those layers. And so I just, forward looking, I think it's great. I'm happy. I'm happy as could be, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Beautiful. I appreciate that. You know what? I like that call. Balance things out. And there is a lot to like. It's just we matched up against number 2, and probably what should have happened happened. So I appreciate the call, my friend. We'll tune in and see if we can handle Marshall.
Yeah. Have a great day, John.
You too. Enjoy your Labor Day. Call again. Thank you. You know what time it is. Kent, to end the show. Everybody wants Kent. I don't know if this is Kent or not, but here we go. 229. Is this you, Kent? Hello?
Uh-oh. Hello?
Is this Kent?
Oh, coach, I finally coached you.
What is going on?
No, hold on. Let me pause my YouTube. Hold on, John. Let me pause my YouTube. I got two Johns in my ear. What's going on, man?
What's going on with you, man? What are you trying to stress out all my people all morning?
Come on, listen.
What? I'm listening.
This is your show.
Yeah.
For the next 5 minutes, I don't want you to say nothing.
Well, I can't promise that, but I'll give you some time to go. But if I need to jump in, I'll jump in on my own damn show. But I'll let you go until I feel like I need to. Go ahead. Go off.
I got you. First things first, I need an apology.
For?
What you mean for?
For what?
Man, for the last 2 weeks, me and you been going at it about your Notre Dame supposed to have the best offensive line, the best defensive line. When you did position by position, I guess you forgot that you said that your offensive line 1 through 5.
Whoa. When I did my preview, I said these are the areas where I feel like Notre Dame may be able to compete and have an advantage. You Ohio State people like to stretch my words. I say, no. I say,
don't talk about
what?
Don't talk about Ohio State people. We're talking about me.
But there has never been a scenario where I downgraded Ohio State's talent or said, oh, Notre Dame's definitely going to crush them and run it for 300. I simply said there are some areas where Notre Dame may be able to have a good day. But I never made
No, man, listen.
What?
This is exactly what you said.
Which is?
Position by position. You said my running back was, you gave me the nod on the running back. You gave me the nod on quarterback. You gave me the nod on receiver. But when you got the offensive line, that's where I had my problem at. From tackle to the right side of the tackle to the left side of the tackle. You gave your offensive line the edge. And according to Saturday, you may not be a top 10 offensive line.
I agree with you. I thought that was an area that we may have had an angle in, and we didn't. By the way, my call, very, very good at football. We didn't. Offensive line was the biggest disappointment of the night, Kent. Like, what do you want me to say? It was garbage. They rushed the ball for 76 yards. They averaged 2.5 yards a carry, and that's not good enough. It's not good enough. But what do you want? Congratulations. You guys played good and you won the game you were supposed to win. How much credit do you want for winning a game you were favored in 17.5 points by? How much credit do you want?
I want you Notre Dame fans to stay in y'all place. You are a third-tier team. You're not Alabama. You're not Ohio State. Not even Georgia. Stay in your place. Sit in the corner and watch the big boys play.
But it's like whenever anybody says that, man, there's only like 3 teams you could go to. It's like, oh man, Notre Dame isn't Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, or Ohio State. And then Notre Dame's like next. I'm not saying they're as good as Ohio State. I'm not saying that.
No. You probably on the tier with Michigan or somebody.
Oh, you mean the same team that beat your ass and ran right into the playoff and embarrassed you guys? Are we on the same tier with that team?
Yes,
Are we on the same tier with that team that you let go in the playoff? You let them go in the playoff. You let the entire country down. You let everybody down in this country by letting them go in the playoff. Do your part, Kent. Do your part.
You got that's your system. You want to talk about last year?
I want you to beat the shit out of Michigan. Can we agree on that? Can you do that for me?
I've been doing it the past 10 years.
Do it this year. I want to be on your side. I can't believe the example you brought up of us not being good is the team that just beat you. How could you do that? That's your example? How is that your example? The team that just beat you guys. You're saying we're nothing. We're nothing. And then you compared us to the team that beat you.
Did that defense play against Michigan? Did that defense play against Michigan? The one that just knocked your head off? Huh?
Your defense played good and your offense is good.
No, I did not ask you that. I said, did that defense that you saw Saturday night play against Michigan?
You know what? No. So maybe you shouldn't have brought it up then.
No.
So then don't bring up Michigan then. Don't bring it up. You don't get to play both sides of this. You don't get to use Michigan when you want to use Michigan, and when you don't, you don't. You don't get to do both.
You got to listen, John. You got to listen. We arguing about what tier you was in. You are a tier 3, tier 2 team.
Wait. We know who tier 1 is. Who's tier 2?
Who's tier 2? You're asking?
Yes.
You gonna let me talk?
Yes.
Tier 2. Hell, I don't know. What, Michigan? Maybe y'all.
Well, you said tier 2 or 3, so I need to know who's in tier 2.
Maybe y'all. This is what I'm trying to get at. Like I've been saying in your comments for the past 2 weeks, you are overrated, underachieving football program. The only thing that y'all can argue about is academics. Football is not what y'all do. You ain't won nothing since 1986. You can't win a New Year's Six bowl game. You can't beat elite football programs. You struggle against people like Cincinnati, Oklahoma State.
What is your point? What is your point?
The point is, my point is, stay in your place and sit in the corner and let the big boys play ball and stop talking like you an elite program. You trash. You are hearing.
You don't have the year right that they won, by the way, but you're hearing things that were never said. There are a lot of Notre Dame people who are saying we were going to kill Ohio State. I'm not one of them. Why aren't you yelling at those people? I never downgraded Ohio State's talent.
In the comments. What I'm getting on you is about, between me and you, what I'm getting on you is about for the past 2 to 3 weeks, you sat here and gave your analysis and you gave position by position and you did all this. Bro, listen, your team, position by position, maybe the center, or Patterson going out, position by position is not better than mine. I told you about what's going to happen to Falski. Paris Johnson Jr. pancaked this man at least 4 times. I watched this happen. No double teams. He got double team here and there sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Or the running back chip. You know what I mean? It happens at the game. But one-on-one, he got pancaked. You might have heard that man's name 1-2 times. The two brothers and the two brothers that y'all hollered about, the defensive tackles, didn't do nothing. Your linebackers didn't do nothing. And then I keep hearing you talk about the secondary. Man, you play zone defense with 2 safeties over the top the whole game, not to get beat. So that's why my receivers couldn't really get off like they wanted to. And then that you struggled on offense because we had a receiver, the best receiver in college football, go out, and once he went out, yeah, we was in a little shambles. We had to get right. You know what I'm saying? We had to move this player over here, move that player over there. And again, at that, noting Mecca Mbuka, the one that scored a touchdown on you, number 2. Number 10, the walk-on. He was a walk-on. And Marvin Harrison Jr., all these people are sophomores that played none last year, just about only in the Rose Bowl game. So, yeah, they was a little slicking up too. So, yeah, it took my offense a minute to get right. But once we seen that the offense, that the receivers and the passing game really wasn't there, because credit to y'all defense also for playing zone coverage over top, we had to run the ball. And like I told you Friday and Thursday and Wednesday and Tuesday, we're going to run y'all ASS over. You want to know why? Because you're soft. You gave all that talk about your defense was good. Your defense was that. Yeah, they played a good first half.
Kent, let me ask you this. Kent.
No, listen. Once we went in the locker room and we made the adjustment, Mayan Williams, my second string running back, we ain't talking about Travion Henderson. My second string running back, you got a good dose of him. He ran everybody over on your team, including your linemen.
That was an awesome story,
so
Kent.
I don't want to hear no more about how your defensive line is good and your offensive line is bad and none of that. I don't want to hear none of that. Your only bright spot is, hold on, I ain't through. The only bright spot you had on that team is, I say, the tight end. And Michael Mayer, he really didn't do too much. He couldn't even hold on to the ball. All that talk they did about him, I'm like, okay, let me see what he do. He an NFL tight end, but he ain't nothing, man. That ain't when he played against big time competition. I seen what he did.
Can I ask you a question, Kent? Can I ask you a question?
I'm not through. Listen, wait, I'm not through. And then as far as Tommy Reese, y'all, I listened to the whole show. Y'all going in on Tommy Reese, killing Tommy Reese. Man, Tommy Reese ain't got nothing to do with that. Just like we called running plays and we executed them and we had bad and we got 1 or 2 yards here, 3 or 4 yards here, and 30 yards there. We executed. Y'all did the same thing. Y'all had the same play calls that we had. We had the same call. Y'all had the same calls that we had. And you know what happened? Execution, players, development. Y'all don't develop like we develop. Y'all don't coach like we coach. We got the best defensive line and the best defensive line coach in football. Y'all got Al Washington, somebody we fired, and y'all picked him up like he was just.
Hey, are you done talking to yourself? Are you done talking to yourself?
No.
Oh.
I've been waiting for 2 weeks.
Oh.
You guys are going in on Tommy Reese. Tommy Reese is an NFL offensive coordinator. Tommy Reese is not bad. What is bad is your team. They couldn't block. Your quarterback, which is a freshman, I don't give excuses for freshmen. You want to know why? Because I had a freshman last year in C.J. Stroud. You know what he did? Balled out. So I don't want to hear about what grade these people in. What it is your team, your recruiting, your coaching, your offensive tackle, trash. Your backup center, trash. That's what I'm talking about. Stop putting everything on Tommy Reese. Execute. Block this lineman and move up to the linebacker and pick him up so your running back can go. Stop putting it on Tommy Reese. That ain't got nothing to do with Tommy Reese. Yeah, he made some conservative play calls because he got a conservative trash team that he had to babysit the whole game.
This is off the rails, Kent. This is off the rails, Kent.
No, it's not off the rails.
It's off the rails.
I'm going to full rant like you did about the. It's a trademark. It's the word the.
Hey.
Well, guess what? I'm going to whole rant.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference, Kent. This is my goddamn show. That's the difference. It's my show. It ain't your show. So I do what I want to do and I talk about what I want to talk about. And you ain't going to tell me to be quiet on my own show. I'll let you talk, but it's my show. So I'm going to run it and I'm going to say whatever I want to say.
Stop complaining. Stop complaining about what happened in Tommy Reese and get out there and execute, just like we did. We couldn't throw the ball, so what we did, ran the ball on y'all, and y'all knew we was running the ball on y'all.
See if you guys can handle second or third tier Michigan this year. Okay, you could do it. Keep beating them. Can we be friends on that?
Okay.
Can we be friends on that? Can we agree on that we both want to beat the shit out of Michigan? I need you to do that for me. Can we wrap up this call with us being on the same side?
But can we agree on this? You hear
What?
me? Is you there?
Yeah.
Can we? What?
What?
Don't get upset with me. Can we agree on this? Can we agree that you have a overrated, underachieving football program? Can we agree on that?
No, because the analytics don't suggest that. More times out of the
No, it
last.
ain't about analytics, bro.
Yes, it is.
You ain't won nothing.
But listen,
When the last time you won?
in
Bro,
the
when the last time Notre Dame won something
listen
meaningful?
to me, Kent. In the last 10 years, Notre Dame has finished ranked higher than they started 7 times out of 10. That you said overrated, and I'm showing you that it's the opposite. They get
How many rings you got for that?
oh God, 0, and the show's over. I don't have the patience for this. I don't have the patience for it, Kent.
Because you don't want to hear criticism.
Oh my,
That's what it is. You want
yeah,
everybody to
exactly.
call in.
Yeah, exactly.
You want
Because everybody knows John's show is sunshine and rainbows for Notre Dame. No negativity on this show. John's all sunshine and rainbows. I can't handle negativity. Kent, you're done. Kent's done. Anybody that says I'm too positive and I don't want to hear negativity, you're done. Kent, I love you. You're good for mixing this up, but I'm done with you. I'm done with you. And I'm done with this show. That excited me, and that was kind of fun yelling at him. We've gone past the 2 hours. That was entertaining. This was very lively. And that concludes the program for today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The donations were fantastic. I don't know that Eric guy, but he gave me $100. Thank you. Kent's still on here. I love you, Kent. I'm going to have a beer with you. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll talk to you soon. Go Irish.